So today I'm joined by Barty Walsh. He's the CEO and founder of Ordo, which is a UK oral care challenger brand built from, as far as I've been able to understand, around a relatively simple idea of making high quality, affordable oral care accessible for everyone. But I know that Barty will also be able to explain that much better than I can. So I'll just pass it along to you. Barty,
Perfect.
lovely to have you on.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I mean, you summed it up pretty nicely, mate, to be honest with you. But yeah, that was our mission. It was to make better quality oral care products for more people. So how do we challenge the big players like your Oral-B's, Philips of the world, with a better product, a better price point, and just make it a bit more interesting for modern consumers? Nothing's really been done to challenge that category. So that's what it's out to do. And we're now the second largest electrical dental brand in the UK. And we sell kind of all over the world, from UK, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, America, as well as European countries. So still a lot of work to do, but I guess we're challenging the category, let's say.
Yeah, you'd landed some pretty cool deals in the US with both Walmart and Target.
Yeah, the US we launched in October, November time, 2024 in CVS. So it's a big pharmacy chain over there. And now we sell in CVS, Walgreens, Walmart. So we went from 0 stores in America to over 15,000 stores in about a year, which is pretty wild.
That's pretty hefty.
A massive, massive growth journey for us. But yeah, it's been big over there for us.
How's how did all of that start? I think I read somewhere that you started with like dental clinics in the UK.
Originally, we started with dentists. So reaching out to dentists, we started as a direct to consumer brand to begin with. And we still do direct to consumer for our website and Amazon and stuff like that. But we then went into dental clinics. So we were going basically B2B, so selling to dental clinics. Because what we were finding was most people bought their product on a recommendation from their dentist. So the dentist would recommend the product and then they would go and buy it from a shop. But we weren't in shops at that time. We were just a young brand. So we were going to the dentist and selling our products directly to them to stock in their dentist and sell to the patient in the dental clinic.
Interesting.
And that built up our brand name. And then that's when we started to approach retailers. So we have like Boots over here in the UK, which is like the biggest kind of like drugstore drugstore pharmacy chain, and launched into them. They were our first retailer. And then we subsequently kind of launched across all major retailers in the UK. But yeah, the first one was Boots. That was actually a very old school way. I just kept turning up at their offices and pretend to have a meeting with a buyer to try and get a meeting with them. And then I did. And then, because we had the dental backing and we built up that kind of like B2B, that business, that dental side of it, it helped on with the efficacy of the brand. We weren't just another brand that had just come from anywhere. We actually had dentists selling the products as well. So that was a really good foundation for us as a brand.
How did you actually get dentists to sell your product? Because I imagine it's not like I imagine they don't like sell anything.
It was it's hard. It was a mix. So dentist is quite a funny one because it's quite a fragmented industry. So you'll have like one individual dentist and a clinic owner. And then you might have a company that has 5 dentists, and you might have one that has 15, you might have one that has 500. But generally, like a lot of dentists are still independently owned, or they might have 1 or 2 dentists like between them. And it's like a family that have owned it for years and they pass it down. So it's a very fragmented market. So we had kind of like a bit of a 3-pronged approach. So we'd have like our own sales team on the ground going into dentists. And then we would also use like the likes of like LinkedIn, things like that, to look for people who are like practice managers. So you have something called practice manager. We'd reach out to these managers who maybe 1, 2 or 3 dental clinics. Say again?
Like reach out via LinkedIn, phone call,
emails.
Via
LinkedIn. So via LinkedIn LinkedIn's been basically our number one like driver for our business, I would say. Like I said to you, we don't really say B2B, but technically it is. Yeah. But B2B is like us selling to a retailer because we're selling to the business, we're not selling to the end consumer. And the same with dentists. We class it as But yeah, so we'd be selling to like the practice manager who may only manage one clinic or manage multiple. And then there's a next step up from that, which is the big kind of groups that will have maybe 200-300 dental clinics, and you would be reaching out to them. Again, a lot of it was through LinkedIn, just like cold. And then we would do a lot of dental shows. We would do a lot of expos. So like dental expositions where it's very boring, old school. There are a lot of brands selling very old school, like the dental chairs and the needles and the gloves, all the stuff. So we were the ones there that were a bit exciting. So that was good for us as well. But they were the main ways, basically.
So like through actually having people go out like and do
we had sales reps on the ground. So they would literally we had like 3 sales reps in the UK, and they would literally be physically driving around the country, and they would like pick blocks of like, I mean, that's like old school sales, like cold calling, but because dentists are, there's a lot of individual dentists. You can't get them on, you can't just like you can call them up, but you tend to call them up to make a meeting to go in. And then we had a sales team in-house. So we have a sales team in-house, and there's a lot of LinkedIn reach outs. So reaching out through LinkedIn, emailing, that kind of stuff. And then also we would do the same thing. We'd just collect a lot of data when we would go to the trade shows, and you would collect the data there, and then you would farm it, and you would kind of obviously then contact them, follow up. We try to sell through the shows as well. So directed to the clinics there and then process it after. But yeah, that was how we used to do it with the sales rep. But when COVID hit, we couldn't go into clinics anymore. So we had to get rid of our sales team, unfortunately. And it just went to a lot of phones. But yeah.
Interesting. Oh, like how did you get into like dental, like oral care?
So I've been working with a friend of mine who's the co-founder of this for a long time. We've been friends since we were 10 years old, and we've always been very entrepreneurial. Both our parents had their own business, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call it. So we were always looking at doing like projects and stuff on the side and trying to like make, I guess, not hustle, but like set up little businesses and stuff like that. And we did loads of stuff like in our early 20s and stuff like that. But I was an architect by trade. So you learn about how people interact with buildings. And there's a lot of philosophy around like psychology and products and how people consume products and things like that. A building being a product, but a product. And I was fascinated by consumer goods, by like products, just like everyday products. Always have been. So I always wanted to do a business that made a product that would sell, like a consumer goods product. And then we looked at loads of categories. We looked at like pet as one. So different things in pet, because that's a huge category. We basically narrowed it down and right, where's there massive growth? A huge addressable market. So massive addressable market, huge growth in that market as well. So there's still room for growth. And also like barriers to entry. So things like beauty is a prime example of this. Huge market, hugely growing, huge addressable market, but low barrier to entry, it sounds great on the face of it, but it's actually very risky, because you can go to kind of anywhere and you can buy an off-the-shelf product and stick a logo on it. But there's so many people and so many brands. There's so many brands. Same can be said in pet care. So when we're looking at oral care, there's 2 main players basically in our category, in electrical, oral being Philips globally. And that's very rare in any other category. So if you go to a supermarket, right, and you want to go and buy some shampoo, there's 50 brands. If you want to go and buy a toothbrush, there's 2 brands. And it's one of the only categories that is like that, which in some senses is scary and quite worrying, because it's like, well, to challenge that is hard. But for us, but if we can break it, it's a massive barrier to entry for other brands. So if you can be resilient enough and keep growing and push, then if you have another brand trying to do the same thing, then it will take them a lot longer. It's an electrical item, it's a lot more harder to manufacture. You can't just go and kind of manufacture anywhere. The regulations, certifications, everything around it. But yeah, it's just because it's a huge market. Everybody brushes their teeth. So
should be brushing their teeth at least,
whether they're brushing with a manual toothbrush or an electric, we want to move. Most people use a manual, so there's still loads of growth for people to go from a manual into electric. So it was a bit of a random one, but it was quite calculated.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
that's
like
kind
it.
of why we started it, mate.
It's really interesting because it's like one of the things that's really great about like marketing industry and like starting a marketing agency is the like the barrier of entry is literally non-existent. Like you
Yeah.
can start with no cash. Like it's literally just about actually learning, and you can learn a lot of just YouTube and stuff. But that's also the thing that makes it like there's so many businesses, like literally I think 9 out of 10 businesses that we talk to are like, they've been burned. Like they've had a really shitty experience with someone, because people, like it's easy to say that you're really good at it. And then, it's
Yeah.
sometimes harder to deliver, but you also have to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because the barrier of entry is just so low, that creates like a completely different kind of like competition compared to an industry like yours where yeah,
Yeah. And it's
it's
very
like you have
easy.
to be resilient for a lot
Yeah.
of years.
And it's a product that's hard to measure for you as well. Well, in some
Yeah,
sense, obviously, but for us, like a physical product, so it's like, this is what
yeah,
we do. Here's the product. You're like, this is what we do. How do you actually prove the product? It takes a long time. It's a hard thing to sell. And like you say, the barrier to entry is a lot lower, which is why you get a lot of, people who are, if you're good at selling, it's great because you can get a lot of custom. It's everything, right? It's like, can you get longevity? You might be able to, and it's where we struggle with hiring because when we try and hire in sales, if you're any decent at sales, you can sell yourself in an interview. When you then come
yeah,
into the business, you actually have to do the work and make the sales, then you realize they're actually not very good at the job. So it's kind of the same. We always struggle in sales because kind of you can't test them. The
yeah.
test is the interview. And if they're half good at selling themselves, then you can kind of get conned sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. Like what I feel like we come back to is talking to businesses that they've worked with. Because it's also like, I was just gonna say, typically I'd look at like numbers, what have they actually done in the past. But the problem is, it's also relatively easy to make numbers look good.
Yeah.
So I feel like the only thing that you can somewhat trust is actually like having someone on the phone that they've actually worked for or worked with,
Yeah.
and like questioning like legally I think they can't really say anything bad, but you get a sense of whether
Yeah.
like they're
Which is,
just talking
again,
shit.
it's the same in like in hiring. If we bring someone on and get rid of them, and another employee asks for a reference from us, we don't have to legally give a reference. But if it's someone who was really good and they were really good for the business, I will always give a reference. If I don't, I would never give a bad reference. But if they ask me for a reference and I don't give them one, they can read it how they want. But it's generally like, well, yeah, there's a reason I'm not giving them a reference.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Something that I've sort of put more emphasis on like later hires,
And numbers never
because you do
lie.
run
We
into
used
that.
to work with a marketing agency who used to do a lot of our digital stuff, and they were great. They
Mhm.
helped us grow, but they could only get us they got us to a really good phase. And that's a really good example because it worked because the numbers worked and the numbers were
Yeah,
there. You can't
yeah,
lie on the P&L. You buy a product, you sell a product. This is the marketing cost and this is what we made in profit. And the numbers never lie
exactly,
on that. Like
exactly.
they used to, I'm probably stitching you up there, Fred, but they used to do a lot. But they used to do this at the start, and they used to give me all these metrics and stuff like that. And I'm like, guys, don't give me fancy metrics. I just want to know
Yeah, this is how many impressions you got.
this
Yeah,
product for X, you sold this product for Y, you spent this much on marketing, how much profit did I make? Don't give me
yeah,
any other fucking metrics because I don't really give a shit.
yeah,
We
exactly.
could look
Like
at those in the
luckily,
future once we've got once we've got the other ones right, but they're the most
yeah.
important to me. We're
Yeah,
old school.
exactly. And like I feel like that's also the brands that actually get somewhere is also you have to have that sense of, is this stuff actually making money? And if not,
Yeah, and
then like
this is
cut
a
it
whole
away.
other this is a big thing
It's
now, and I think with younger generations and younger people starting businesses, social media can misconstrue. And look, don't get me wrong, I love running this business, but trust me, it's not for everybody. Like
yeah,
running a business is goddamn freaking hard, as you will
yeah,
know.
yeah,
But you get this
exactly.
missold thing of like online and prep and all the the coverage that you get now, and 99% of what you're seeing is just bullshit. It's like
Yeah.
I see companies that are making all these claims and I'm like, yeah, they're doing this much revenue. And I'm like, they've done 50 million revenue, but they've raised 45 million pounds. And it's like, that business is bust. It is gone. They are well and truly screwed. But the way that you spin it online makes people think it's all great. And I think people have forgotten now. It's like raising money, especially like a CPG brand, like as like a consumer goods brand. You should be making profit because like it's not a business that's going to be valued on. It's not a software business. We're not a SaaS business. We're not a marketing business. We're a business that buys and sells a product, and you need to be making strong profit, net profit. But everybody spins
How
it.
is that like working with huge chains where they have like a huge amount of like buying leverage, like Target or Walmart or
They will always want you to spend a lot of money. So they try to get you to spend a lot of money, but you just have to be pretty adamant because a lot of them, and they genuinely do this, they'll be like, oh, well, you can do like a web banner. So, you know, when you go onto Target and they have like a banner and it's got an advert on and it's got your thing on, they'll be like, you could do that and it's 50 grand for a month. And we're like, hold on a second. It's going to zero incremental. Would you actually rather us pay for something that we know is going to make money for us in terms of you guys, drive sales and actually give everybody benefit, or they just look for it for their bottom line? So it's basically just like, and sometimes the retailers, they say it, but they say it indirectly. So they were like, we need this, you got to pay for this. And we're like, why? And they were like, basically because we need some more margin. So they're not, it's not about the return. It's just, they want more margin. Difficult when you're smaller and you're younger, like it's been painful to get through it, but now we're bigger, we can kind of absorb it. And there's certain things we can do and push and stuff like that. If I told you how we did that, I'd be giving away all of my secrets.
Yeah, I wish I told you. How do you get into
it's just about how you negotiate with the teams, basically. It's just how good you are at negotiating and balancing, pushing the brand retailer, pushing what we actually think is going to move the needle in terms of actually affecting sales.
Yeah. Figuring out a solution that works, but for both as
Exactly.
well. Yeah.
Convincing the buyers. It's selling, sales.
Yeah, exactly. Negotiation is sales and the other way around. How do you get into, is that also like reaching out on LinkedIn and stuff, or how do you get into chains like Walmart?
Think about CVS. Yeah, they were all CVS with LinkedIn. That was our first one. And then from there, because we had a footprint and we could like, basically then it was like, using, I would give LinkedIn about 70% credit for the retailers that we launch into. That's where we get the information. It's how we find the buyers.
Yeah.
So that's how we find the contact. It's the easiest way.
Yeah. It's like, there's not that many ways when you're looking for like distributors or retailers.
Distributors,
it's like, you can reach out directly, or you can go to like fairs or like events like that.
But it's difficult at the fairs. The fairs are expensive as well. If you're a younger brand, like they were so expensive for us when we were younger, and it's just an easy way to do it. But it takes time. Google and LinkedIn. That's basically the main ways.
Yeah, exactly. And
they work.
Yeah, Google if you have people actually searching for your product as well. And yeah. But 100% Google can be something that we've sort of neglected actually. But like also with the change that's happening right now with like people asking GPT instead of searching on Google, like that we've actually seen sort of open up some new pockets where like we're getting recommended by like stuff that we were not ranking on SEO, like on Google beforehand. So we're actually trying to sort of optimize for those types of things as well.
Yeah, so we're doing that. We're doing like where you can buy direct in ChatGPT as well. We're just onboarding in America. It's the future, man. AI.
Yep. Exactly. Take it or leave it.
I don't want to get into that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, all good. I feel like it's the only thing that you really talk about. Like, yeah. But like it's fun as well because it's literally what we see as well. Like the few brands that we work with, like manufacturers and stuff, it's just direct outreach. It works really well because people expect it. It's like you're reaching out in a similar way that everyone else are reaching out. So like when you reach out with an email or on LinkedIn, it's like, it's what they do. If you're reaching out to something like a general manager or like maybe even a procurement manager or something like that. It's literally their job to actually also get new stuff on the shelves. So it's not that hard, and it's actually relatively easy to like build up a certain skill with as well. Of course, if there's enough like targets as well. Interesting, really. What's then the focus for next year, the next 12 months?
God, next year we there's a lot going on. A big focus for us is like a big issue we've had as a business is our supply chain, because we're growing very fast. So supply chain, so a lot of revenue this year from not having stock available, because of the speed of the growth, which is a good thing. And then also letting down customers, so not delivering on time, things like that. So a big focus is just like focusing on our supply chain and stuff like that. But then the other thing is like growing our European footprint. So we don't really sell across Europe. It's very fragmented. Obviously, it's one essentially big country in terms of its like land mass.
Yeah.
So a lot of retailers, lots of retailers cross countries and territories. So it's much more difficult to break. So we're kind of like really focusing on like how we focus on key markets within Europe, and then also just pushing
what's the approach there? How are you? Is that LinkedIn as well?
Yeah, LinkedIn, and then we have LinkedIn for looking for distributors and also the buyers. But then we work with distributors already, and we work with like agents as well, like sales agents who will go out and find for us. And then we also do shows. So we've got like Cosmoprof. Cosmoprof is a big, massive trade show for like consumer goods, health and beauty, kind of things, which is in Italy. So we do loads of stuff like that. Very similar to what we used to do with the dental. It's basically the same, just different. There's a mix of LinkedIn, distribution, and trade shows, basically. How we do that.
Nice. So you are virtually doubling down on the stuff that you've also just seen work.
Yeah, the stuff that's made is like where we're really good at is like innovation. Like our products are really good. Like the innovation that we bring as well is really good. So we've got that cracked, and our sales are really good. Where we don't have it cracked is kind of like the supply chain, demand planning, that kind of stuff.
It's sort of the back end with like you grow really fast, everything's really good, and then you suddenly figure out, oh shoot, how are we actually going to deliver all of this?
Exactly. Back end is the difficult stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally the same in any business, I think. Like it's like you figure out one thing and then you go back to, oh damn, now I need to like shift my focus again and actually figure out how to
firefighting.
Yeah, exactly. And you try to look ahead a few times a year, and otherwise it's just head down and then
get into it
full speed. What's some stuff that you've like tried that like has just completely not worked, like completely flopped?
Well, we actually, in what sense? In any sense? Anything?
Any sense?
We launched a product when we first launched and it was fucking terrible.
Yes.
Yeah, just mainly most of the things that really haven't worked have been products. So like a product that we launched, which was like a battery operated toothbrush, which just wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough, basically. And what we really focus on is, like I said, it's making great products and real innovation. It just wasn't up to what we were used to. So, but it's probably just launching too fast, too soon. So that was a big one. And another thing is like launching into countries. So we did this in Europe, which is why we want to focus on it this year. Like we did it in Europe a couple of years ago, trying to go into too many different geographies in two different countries, but not giving them enough focus. So not focusing on them, and they just fizzle out because you're not focusing on them enough. So when we go into a territory, so if we go into a new country, the Netherlands, for example, it's about finding like a distributor, retail partners, and then really pushing the marketing without then trying to go into loads of other countries at the same time. They've been the biggest pitfalls, plus loads of other shit that happens all day, every day.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the main ones.
It's literally
not being
every day.
Talk to customers, that's the biggest one. And cash flow. Cash flow for a company like us is a problem.
Yeah, it's tough. You really have to know your numbers.
Yeah.
And know when a stuff like, when do I have to pay stuff and when do I actually get paid?
Yeah.
It sounds easier than it is. It's
bloody impossible.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, super interesting. What's like something that you wish you knew earlier, or something where if you'd start over, like that's something that you'd do differently?
I don't know, because I always say this when people ask, if I've done an interview or anything like that, or people have asked me, I think being a challenger brand, like a startup and whatever you want to call it, or starting a business which is challenging a category or doing something different, your biggest superpower is naivety. So it's not knowing what you're getting into, because you go into it just blind. So you don't
Yeah.
have like the pretenses that other brands do. And that's where we've won, because we're doing things that the big brands probably know that they've learned from and that might not have worked for them. But because we don't have that as a kind of a barrier in our heads,
Yeah.
we just go in like full guns blazing, and then we learn
Mhm.
afterwards. But what we do, some things like you do, and then 50% of it works and 50% of it doesn't. So you double down on the 50%. But at the end of it, there isn't many things that we've done that haven't really worked. Or if they really haven't worked, it's like you take the learnings on the small thing that has worked. So I probably wouldn't do anything different, because if I did, I didn't know if we would be where we would be if I knew, because I'd probably be more risk
You wouldn't
adverse.
have learned from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you'd be more risk adverse. So you'd be more afraid of risk. You'd be more afraid of problems, because I'd be like, right, if we do that, I know it's not going to work. So I might not do it. But I don't know what doors, like in the past, stuff we've done has opened more doors than it's caused problems. This is my personal view, by the way. So this is not,
I actually, I really like it, because I feel like I think it's like a huge. It's hard because there's so much like information. Like if you go out and search for anything,
I
literally.
agree. It's overload. The reason I say this, and whenever I do this kind of thing, and look, people always ask from like, you asked me to do this interview, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm not an expert. I'm not a business expert. I just do what we do because it's what we do. And I wanted to do something and I do it. I'm not an expert. I don't have any skill sets in this. Didn't do anything to get me ready. I was an architect before, so something completely different to doing this. And I think what the problem is now, especially nowadays, again, with the younger generations, you consume so much stuff on the internet. People are like, do this and do that and don't do this and do that. Whenever I give these kinds of things, this is just my personal experience. And the reason why I say, I wouldn't change anything myself, because I don't know. And it's the same for other people. Like, I can tell you what I've done, what I've experienced, but you might have a completely different experience, and
Yeah.
something that worked for me might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for me. So don't take it as gospel, because there is no rule book for any of this. And I think people think there is, and they overanalyze it. It's just like,
Yeah.
if you think too much about it, you're going to never do anything. And then you'll just, you'll never do it. So just crack on and do
Yeah.
it, and then find out.
Exactly.
That's my
Exactly. You're
advice.
sort of waiting for the perfect condition when I think this is homosia or something, like when the perfect condition is literally just getting started.
Yeah.
It's like sitting down and just cracking on. Because if you wait for certainty, like it's never gonna be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
If you
yeah.
launch,
You really.
I can't remember what the saying was, but it's like, if you launch the perfect product, you launch too late. So basically,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
problems. We launched a product probably too fast and before we kind of should have, but where that's brought us, we might not have moved and pivoted so quickly into something else, and we might have never done it. So
Yeah.
here we
Yeah,
are.
exactly. Exactly. Same in investing. Like if you're certain of a deal, then it's too late, because then
Yeah,
everyone's done it already.
exactly.
And there's
Yeah.
no money in it. Cool. I think last question.
Yeah.
It might be a bit of a cheeky one. I tried to come up with somewhat of a like a catchphrase and question. So let's try it and see if it works.
Okay.
So because the podcast is called The Revenue Equation. What's the revenue equation in your business? Like, what inputs reliably create growth?
God, it's a hard one. I'm trying to think of what you want me to say.
No, don't don't do that.
What do you mean? So what do you want? Like, what you're asking, you're saying, what is the direct input that drives revenue into this business?
Yep, exactly. Drives growth.
I mean, this might seem cheesy, but it's hard work. Like, there is no, and I say this all the freaking time, nothing beats anything than hard work. And that's the thing. I don't have a degree. I'm not good at maths. I'm not good financially. I have no like preface for running a business. My view, and again, this is just my view, because this is just the way I am, because I'm not very like, I'm not going to be a person that creates some amazing software and builds some fucking AI thing. I don't have that on my side. But what I do have is 24 hours in a day, 365 days of the year. And I know if I work all of those days and someone only works 300 of them, I'd put my money on the person who works 365 days versus the person who does 300. So I'm a big believer in hard work. Nothing beats hard work. And it's
Yeah.
most people, and this is the thing I always say to the guys, is like, if you look at any kind of, you look at any, the Elon Musk and the people of the world who have made millions, our sports people is always a good example. I always use Michael Phelps as an example.
Yeah.
He was, one thing that really annoys him is because in an interview, people only saw when he won like 8 Olympic golds one year. And he was like, people only saw that. But what they didn't see was 20 years of training 3 times a day, 360 days of the year to get to that point. And if you boil everything down, from most people who are successful in whatever it is they do, whether it's acting, singing, sports, business, it's because they just don't stop working at it. So yeah, hard work. Cheesy, but true.
I like it. Cheesy question, cheesy answer. Brilliant. Yeah, that's all. Thanks a lot for taking the time to come
I
on.
hope I was
like
of good use for you. Sorry if I was.
No, 100%. Yeah, you have a really interesting story. I love, like, it's sort of, there's so many people, like even my parents, they took a degree in something and then switched and now they do something completely different. I feel like it is really like that. You just have to start somewhere and then the path is just gonna show along along the way.
Leap of faith is just taking a punt at it. It doesn't matter. You're not going to die because of it. Maybe, hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it. If anyone wanted to go follow you or what you guys do at Ordo, what would be the best place?
Follow Ordo if you want. That helps us. That's at Ordo Life. And then I am on LinkedIn as well. And I need to do more on LinkedIn and like Instagram and stuff like that. I don't do enough. I meant to be. I get told off from my marketing team because I should be doing more. But yeah, just search my name.
You're not the only one.